And I believe we're live. Greetings, friends of the apocalypse. This is Podcast at Ground Zero, episode 35, The Bad and the Ugly Apocalypse Movie. I am Jared, the Apocalypse Nerd Wallace, and joining me tonight is our usual gang, is Adam Bomb Glancy, and again, our special guests, I don't know how special you are anymore if you come on the show so much, Will. So.
Well, it may not be special, but it is unique.
It is unique. William T. Thrasher, everybody. And so.
Hey.
Hello.
We are going to be talking about, I didn't say good, the bad, and the ugly, because we're not talking about the good this week. We are going to be talking about apocalyptic movies, and we're going to be talking about the bad ones. And from some of my research and skim watching on YouTube a lot this last week,
yes,
because most of them I would start about, I'd give them about 10-15 minutes just to kind of get the gist of, okay, yep, here's another cookie cutter story. Skim through it a little bit, and and did that a lot because there's a lot of bad ones out there. So we're gonna be talking about that, as well as some bad ones that maybe are guilty pleasures. Like it's bad, you know it, but you love it.
And so, we've already hit on a lot of these bad ones. We've tried to warn you not to see them. If nothing else, just save the time. Time you will never ever get back.
Oh yeah, no, you'll never get that back. Yeah, so some of them we're just going to mention because we've talked about them before, and we won't get the detail because we've already talked about them ad nauseum. And what's the first one that comes to mind, everybody?
Zardoz?
No,
we haven't talked about that, but we've talked about because he does a lot of terrible apocalypse movies.
Yeah.
Who is it?
I really think that of the two terrible apocalypse movies he's responsible for, I really think Postman is worse than Waterworld. They're both terrible.
Oh yeah.
I really think The Postman is actually worse.
Yeah.
Because there is almost nothing in Postman that's remotely imaginative. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll circle back to that in just a second, because yes, I knew, but. In the news, I didn't really get a whole lot this week. I mean, I've seen a lot of little stuff out there. I've seen a couple things on Quiet Earth. There's a couple of there's this short film out there. I'll have to find these and get them posted up on the YouTube channel. See, now I'm gonna have to look because I brought it up and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Don't you hate when I do that?
Yes.
The Quiet Earth. It's a little short film called. He posted it recently. I'm trying to dig it up right now, and I can't find it. But if I'll find it. I'll post it. It was a little post-apocalyptic film. Phoenix 9 was one of them, and there's another one out there. I can't quite remember what it is, but there's some little things I've seen. The only thing I have that's really of interest is I mentioned it before. There's a new game coming out called the 77 Lost Worlds, and it came out, and it is a traditional box set they put out there. You know.
Well, that's expensive.
It wasn't too bad, and
Well, no, I mean, as someone who's published a game that came in a box, the most expensive part was the damn box.
Is the box? Oh yeah,
It's murderous for publishers to put out a box set.
Oh yeah, That's right. You've experienced that firsthand.
Yes.
And your basement attests to that. But
yes.
So 77, The Lost Worlds. Again, it's done by James Ward and Stephen A. Lee. Box set. I got the basic set. They had a good deal for the first time it came out, so I got it for a little bit cheaper. But it comes with the basic rule set, and it comes with one of the domes. I believe it is the Egyptian dome. There's like 3 domes. The basic premise of it was man inhabited 77 worlds. There was this alien apocalypse that destroyed everything. They had these AI intelligent battleships which defeated them. And one of the only bastions of humanity left is on these 3 domed entertainment. It's kind of like Westworld and basically you try to get out of it, and you can go to the Earth, the apocalyptic Earth. So I haven't really had a chance to dig into it, but it comes with adventure, it comes with it comes with character sheets, it comes with maps of the domes. So it's got a lot going on with it. And it looks like the printing might have been done by like a drive-through type RPG, kind of print on demand, So it's not, it's not bad quality. It's decent quality. It's print on demand stuff, but it's good, So, and it has a unique playing mechanic. Everything's done with like playing cards. The simple, everything's determined by playing cards. And I know that's not new. There's some other systems out there that do that. Will, can you name off one of them? I can't think of any off the top of my head.
The systems that do what?
The mechanics.
Distortion of mind.
No dice. It's all done with playing cards. I know there's some games out there to do that, right?
Okay, Amber Diceless. There's a Diceless variant of Fate. There's a Diceless variant of Omni System.
Okay.
Or Unisystem.
So it just uses playing cards. So it looks interesting. I haven't had a chance to go through it yet, but I will. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that came out, and that's all I really have this week. But it was just cool to get a nice big, hey, look, post-apocalyptic box set. It was all shrink wrapped. I was all happy to open it. It was kind of like, it almost had that same feeling like when I was opening up early editions of the Gamma World game back in like the 80s, back when they were new. So
when most of these films we're going to talk about came from, there's
Yes.
a lot of sins from the 1980s.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 80s, 70s as usual. So, did you have anything else to add, Scott? Any kind of in the news? And now we'll just jump right into talking about that.
The only thing I can think of that's even close is there is a reboot going on right now on on Kickstarter for the Paranoia role-playing game.
Yes.
They've already made their funding goals. They started with £30,000. They're at 132,000, and they're only halfway through their fundraising period. Now, technically, Paranoia has one foot in the post-apocalyptic world because it is a post-apocalyptic setting, but it's also got another foot in the dystopian world because it's a dystopia, heavily influenced by things like Logan's Run and, frankly, Zardoz in some ways. It's certainly out there, and we'll be seeing more of it, in the coming months. Paranoia has been released and re-released over the years a fair number of times. It's been passed around as a property. I've read it. I never got to play it, but those friends who have said that it's really entertaining. Where it's the only game you get killed more than Call of Cthulhu, where it's just all about dying in the most humiliating and horrible ways possible over and over and over again.
I have run it several times. It is always a treat.
Okay.
From what I've heard that it's theorized that basically it's been theorized that the world of Paranoia kind of takes place in the world. It's basically this installation that's set in this post-apocalyptic world. So people are like, oh, you could set it in Gamma World if you wanted to. I've heard.
Oh yeah, and it would make perfect sense as a mad AI running a facility and breaking down and just going bananas. Yeah, it would completely make sense as a Gamma World setting. That would be you could run that almost seamlessly.
All right, so I decided to go with the headphones because it was.
Was it treating you right? Not having your ears.
The club.
I know it was bothering me. So, speaking of.
Bless you.
Hey, thank you. Speaking of, that was supposed to be a mute, but sorry, folks. There was another Kickstarter. When you said Kickstarter, there is a Legacy, A Life Among the Ruins, world rebuilding role playing. It's some kind of post-apocalyptic Kickstarter for influenced by things like Fallout, Stalker, Can't Tell for Leopold's, Mad Max. So it's I've had a chance to to look at in detail, but it's out there. It's called, again, Legacy. Life Among the Ruins. So I'm check that. I guess I'm not on the headphones there. So yes, I'm being really gross, folks. Apologize for that. Oh, what else? What else is new?
Don't worry. Your belching is going to be the least unappetizing thing we deal with on this show.
Yes. It's just a radiation sickness.
It is. It's a bad canned food, you know. So if
you know what? I've got one that's just new that turned up on Netflix. It may very quickly fall into the worst of, because I've only seen a couple of episodes. But there's this show called The 100. Have you heard about it?
No. Heard about it, never seen it.
Okay, so it's on Netflix right now. It is so young adult. It's a little nauseating. You know what I mean? It's got
like the Australian
Harry Potters.
Yeah, it's like, you know, yeah, it's got the same problems that was it ever since the war began.
Okay, yeah.
You know, where it's just a whole bunch of way too attractive young people being retards under trying circumstances, and you're sort of, you know. But the basic idea behind it is that there's been a nuclear war. Supposedly, Earth is too radioactive to live on. There are a bunch of government orbital space facilities, and like the war is like 2060, 2070 or something like that, have banded together to preserve some nucleus of human civilization in orbit, which means that everything's recycled, and you know, there's, you know, no resources to be had up there, and everyone lives in horrible poverty, and you can't have more than one child, and all that kind of stuff. But they're suddenly decide one day to jerk all these. In fact, there's such population pressures. Every crime on the space station that is committed, that's committed above the age of majority after you're 18, once you're 18, I should say, every crime is punishable by death. They just space you. Poof, out there, lock you go. And which I thought was a terrible idea if you're trying to recycle everything. Look at all that protein shooting out into space. They even throw them out the ship. They even throw them out of the ship wearing their clothes. I'm like, there's got to be somebody else with a size 12 boot around here. But basically, one day they take all the juvenile delinquents who are actually in the only thing that resembles a prison, stuff them on board a dropship, and pow, shoot them down to the earth. And it turns out that they need some guinea pigs to see if they can get back to Earth, because as the story starts to develop, something's gone wrong, and the Ark is going to poop out and run out of life support in 4 months, not 100 years. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is, even if they decide they want to evacuate, they only have enough evacuation on the space station to get 700 of the 10,000 people off the spaceship. So it's like you're double plus fucked. And so, you know, they get back to Earth, and it's of course, Earth turns out to be British Columbia. And there's actually people living on Earth, like barbarians and so on and so forth. But boy, it is all filled with teen angsty angst, you know. And it's so I don't know. It's the young attractive people who were supposed to, you know, sort of focus our interests. They're like those fucking kids on Revolution. Remember those idiots?
Yeah.
The young kids that the story centered around, and you just wanted to beat their skulls open and turn what was left of their heads into drinking, you know, utensils, and they were just awful. They made the wrong decision every time, with no sign that they were ever going to get any smarter, and yet somehow they never seemed to pay the price. Yeah, they're like that, except it's like an entire cast of those people. I'm not sure I can recommend this. I just know it exists, and it is out there. So that's the end of the new apocalypses that I'm aware of. This might fall into the ugly.
Oh yeah.
They're so pretty it's ugly.
All right. Okay. So now back to where we left off. Yeah, The Postman. There's nothing redeeming about that film. We've talked about it in detail. The Postman, you know, compared, you know, there's The Postman and Waterworld, the Kevin Costner trifecta of, yes, I have them on Blu-ray. Trifecta.
Why do you refer to it as it's a bifecta, right? Or is there a third Kevin Costner?
Oh, trifecta, whatever, yeah.
There could be one in development.
Oh,
That-
God.
You got land and sea. He could be doing a post-apocalyptic movie set in the air.
Will's the thing that's scary is Will may just be right.
I'm going to hope that it's already happened, that it was Oblivion, and they made it into a Tom Cruise product rather than a Kevin Costner product. Holy shit.
Yeah, so, folks, if you haven't seen The Postman, you're really not missing anything.
Yeah, read the book. Be happy.
Yeah.
Read one of the best books ever. Don't look at the movie. Even Waterworld is better, and Waterworld is terrible.
Yes, this movie right here is terrible. Right here, this one right here. Okay, there's two good things. There's only two good things about this movie. Okay.
All right.
Number one, there's the one scene again. Okay, spoiler alert, people. Okay, because it's anyway. But don't see it. Just go to those scenes. There's a scene where the guy's sitting in the tanker at the bottom, and the frickin' the flare goes all the way down to hit the thing of oil because this old guy's been sitting in this oil checking the level for who knows how long, decades maybe.
He's got this giant mangy beard. He's like almost transparent. Yeah.
And he just the line of when he sees the torch falling down, it's going to hit the oil and explode and kill him. His only thing he says is when he sees it, he goes, "Oh, thank God." That line is perfect. That is like the best line in the movie. The second best line is when they're on the big boat, the big tanker island.
Valdez.
The Valdez, of course.
Because the Exxon Valdez. Yeah.
He's giving the big speech, and they see Kevin to 400 to 1, and of course they all go run around crazy because he's causing mayhem. And then the Deacon, that's right, his name was the Deacon, which is Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper just turns him
playing another raving maniac.
Yeah, I know. That's so unusual for him to pull those roles off. He just turns to somebody and goes, "Just don't stand there, kill something."
And besides that, I gotta say it's also better looking. I mean, the costumes are more imaginative. The gear, the equipment was more interesting looking than the very boring. There is
a third.
Go ahead, Will.
There is a third good thing to come out of that movie, though, and it's a bit Dana Carvey used to do in his stand-up act, which was Thoreau attempting to explain Waterworld as part of a campaign speech.
Nice.
Oh my God. Yes, please. Where can I find that on YouTube? I
don't remember the name of the comedy special. It's one he did in like the late '90s. But there's this whole big, like they have a Mr. Coffee contraption. You pass urine through it to make filtered drinking water. It's just this great bizarre bit.
Wow. What you gotta understand here? Get under the hood. What the fucking...
Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot pee to a Mr. Coffee and get Taster's Choice. Can I finish?
So it's the Ross Perot review of Waterworld?
It's Ross Perot explaining Waterworld.
Wow.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to
try to make it the most '90s joke of all time. All it needs is something about the spin doctors in it.
Oh! Ow.
Or spin doctors. How about EMF? Or yeah.
If there could have been like maybe a Cobain, shotgun decapitation, I guess that would also be very 90s.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So Waterworld again. If you had if you were like if you were being tortured and they gave you a choice between Waterworld and The Postman, choose Waterworld.
Yeah.
It'll be less painful.
Yeah. It's even shorter, even though it's also ridiculously too long.
Oh yeah. Wait, hold on. It's of course I don't have my reading glasses, so I can't see. It doesn't tell me. I was hoping to see how long Waterworld is because, The Postman's like 3 frickin' hours. It's way, way, way too long.
Yeah, Waterworld runs 135 minutes.
Okay, that's only 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it's like what 2:45 or 2:47.
Oh yeah, it's practically 3 hours of Postman. It's heinous. So, all right, enough about Kevin Costner, because again,
All right.
then I'm gonna start going into my Family Guy bit about how Chris is walking out of the movie theater, and on the marquee it says Kevin Costner, No Way Out, and he's talking to somebody. He goes, how does he still keep on getting work? But
All right, so what's our next ugly that we'd like to nominate, Mr. Thrasher?
Okay, if we want to talk ugly, this is a movie. Okay, so I'm sure you guys remember the classic Rowdy Roddy Piper movie, Hell Comes to Frogtown, right?
Yes, which is actually so bad it almost transcends into high art.
But that's not the movie I want to talk about. I want to talk about the little-known sequel, Return to Frogtown, also known as Frogtown 2, starring Robert Z'Dar, he of the Catcher's Mitt face.
The guy with that ridiculous fucking head from the... Oh, my God.
Yeah, from Soul Taker, from Maniac Cop.
Yes, Maniac Cop, and the one I was going to name was Tango and Cash.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the first time I saw him in a film. Oh, my God. What's up with his head? Do we know? Has he got acromegaly or...
No, apparently it's just his natural bone structure gives him makes it look like the chin of a giant was grafted onto his jawline.
Okay, so I thought you were going to go with the director's earlier movie, which is something like Rollerblades or something, which is the
Solar Babies?
No, that's another atrocity. Go ahead and give it. I posted a link to some clips from the rollerblading nuns in a hot tub movie.
Oh yes,
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it's apparently directed by the same guy who went on to do Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Return to Frogtown. I first saw this in like 94, 95 on USA Up All Night with Gilbert Gottfried and Ron DeShear. I don't know if you guys remember that show.
Oh yeah.
Find the weirdest stuff.
USA Up All Night.
Yep. Hello. But
No.
it's just like, I mean, it is overall a rehash of, Frogtown. There's a Frogtown. A guy gets stranded there, but they add so many extra unnecessary flourishes. Robert Z'Dar is a member of effectively this like rocket patrol. They wear these knockoff backwards Rocketeer helmets, and like one of their agents like crashes near Frogtown, which is why.
What happened to what's her name from Conan? And the
Bridget Nielsen?
No, whatever. That's Red Sonja. The girl who was in Conan. Who's in Hell Comes to Frogtown, does the dance of the three snakes and does that horrible scene. You know what I'm talking about? Not Bridget Nielsen.
The one who played Conan Squeeze, right?
Yeah. Whose name I'm escaping me. Sandahl Bergman. What happened to Sandahl Bergman and the Insemination Patrol? Or you remember that? That was
Insemination Patrol.
That was the whole point of Frogtown, was dragging Roddy Piper around with plastic explosives tied to his Johnson, so that they could repopulate the earth and not let him run off and, spill his seed willy-nilly. So they had Wow, I can't even believe that's the plot. But yeah, so what happened to the pink armored car with the M60 on the roof? Well, MedTech. That was it. It wasn't the insemination, it was MedTech. What happened to those guys? They just write those guys out of the script?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing they've got in this movie are the giant frogs who want to repopulate. Like, that's really the only connective tissue.
Wow.
Like, I can only imagine that they just had a script for like a movie with rocket pack guys and mutants, and somehow got the Frogtown rights and decided to sort of try to spin it into a sequel.
Wow.
But they go into like a more detailed. I remember they give the frogs a more detailed origin story. They're like the creation of a mad scientist who was trying to create an organism that could survive the end of the world. But what dates this, and aside from the special effects and the actors, what really dates the movie is that in the middle of it, there's like this frog saloon. In the middle of it, there's just a 4-minute music video of a frog rock star singing a song about how he's better than the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The song called like Meaner and Greener, I think is the name of that song.
Wow, Bill.
Yeah, I second Scott's white flag. Please stop.
No, oh, God. Wow. Is there breakdancing?
Regrettably, no, there is no breakdancing to send it all the way over the top.
Oh my God.
That would make it absolutely perfect if it did that. But
Wow, that's pretty horrible. That's pretty horrible.
I've heard about it, but I haven't heard about that much detail, and I think that's bad and ugly. I think that qualifies as both. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to throw out one that is one of my least favorite post-apocalyptic movies. A film I absolutely hate just about everything about it.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
Doomsday.
You mean this film right here?
Yeah.
Oh.
Doomsday. I absolutely hate everything about that movie. It is. I really liked Dog Soldiers. I liked The Descent. Both films made by the same production team. But holy shit, Doomsday is fucking worthless.
It's pretty bad, but this one's kind of a guilty pleasure for me.
All right. There's all kinds. I'm sure I've gone on about how awful this film is before, so I won't go back over the details. But
some of them. I mean, give us a brief snapshot.
My biggest problem with this thing, I guess, is the utterly and completely uninspired action sequences. It's not just that they go to Edinburgh in the walled-off section of the British Isles that's been wiped out by the plague to retrieve a sample of somebody who survived the plague. Not only that, they go up there, and of course the place is overrun with the fucking cast from Road Warrior. Because, again, every time there's an apocalypse, the only thing that survives is all the punk-rise Torrid, apparently. Torrid.
Well, the only thing that survives in the apocalypse is buttless leather chaps.
Yeah. All the fetish.
Well, to be fair, all chaps are buttless.
Yeah, I know what. I think we've had this discussion before, but I just like saying buttless.
Yeah. So and because it's all white Scottish guys, it's even more buttless than it would have been if perhaps there had been some Jamaicans or Nigerians involved. It's awful. It's all these pasty punkers in the ruins of Edinburgh, and of course they're cannibals, and of course they've got mohawks and tattoos. Apparently, tattoo technology didn't go away, and
if anything, it got better.
Yeah, exactly. And then when they attack the heavily armed government troops and their armored personnel carriers, the first thing they do is just run right at the guns. Just run right at the guns and get mowed down in the tens of thousands. They have no tactics. It's not like they have been living in the ruins and fighting in the ruins for, what, like 15 to 20 years, and so they can hone their skills. Apparently, they don't have any skills. They just run right at the problem and then get shot dead and are apparently completely undeterred by the fact that they're getting shot dead. Not because they're zombies or anything, just because, fuck, the guy directing the action sequence was so goddamn uninspired he couldn't come up with anything else. And then, once these guys have all just run at the guns and got it mowed down, cut to, government guys get in their armored personnel carrier with this little tiny window, this little tiny, apparently made out of sugar glass window in the armored personnel carrier. That suddenly these fucking punkers are shooting their cross the window. I'm like, and killing the driver. Like, why don't you guys just snipe the goddamn guys in the chem warfare suits from the shadows? And that's the end of it, right? I mean, we don't usually bring out the big guns until they've got in a tank, and then then we'll use a crossbow. It's just so unbelievably uninspired. And the guy who turns up as the leader of the punk rock crew is so devoid of anything remotely resembling charisma or leadership skills. he's got all of the charisma of a guy DJing at a strip club. And yet all these fucking guys are willing to just spend their lives...
Candy to the stage. Candy.
Yeah. And the action is uninspired. Everything is a ripoff from another movie, essentially.
Oh,
Look, there's the Road Warrior homage. Oh, there's the homage to John Borman's Excalibur. Oh, what? There's the part where we're supposed to remember 28 days later. Fuck, it's just one of the most worthlessly grafted together atrocities I've ever seen, and it's a huge budget, and it's a big budget movie, and it's just awful.
Well, I've also heard that the movie makes a lot of terrible, ironic, but not really ironic use of music from the Fine Young Cannibals.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
So Scott, with this surmise, your feeling of Doomsday?
Yeah, this sums up Doomsday.
Wait, does this sum it up? Wait, hold it.
Yeah, I'm just sorry I watched it once, and I'll never get those 90 minutes back. It was really awful for me.
Okay, so that's bad. Moving on. Let's.
What do you got, sir?
I'm gonna touch briefly on something that we've talked about before. Deathlands, Homeward Bound by Sci-Fi Channel. I don't need.
You really don't need it. It's so awful. God, it's like nobody's trying.
It's bad.
Nobody's trying in this movie. It is
so. I was excited that it was coming out, and then when I saw it, I was like, I wish they wouldn't have done it. Okay, well, it is that bad.
If you're a Deathlands fan, it is a kick in the balls.
Yeah.
It's like they went out of their way to make it as awful for you as possible.
Oh, it's heinous, and like, wait, look. Let's see here. Can I do it again? Look, I'm the main character. I got an eye patch. That's about the only similarity he had.
Hey, Ryan. Ryan Codor.
Thank you, everybody. But yeah, Sci-Fi Channel presents Deathlands Homeward Bound with Tracy Lords is in it. So yeah, this is a stinker. Not even waste your fucking time. So that's a brief one. Let me talk about another. This thing isn't staying on my face very well. Let me.
Nix that, okay?
You use that spirit gum to keep your prosthetics on.
I know. Well, I could go with this. When we were talking about Frogtown, I should have done that. But
or Waterworld.
Waterworld. Yeah. Look.
He's a mutant. A mutant.
Mutant. There. Okay. There is. Here, I'm going to talk about both of them because I have it. Here is a Roger Corman double feature.
Oh dear.
Death Sport and Battle Truck. Okay.
Oh.
I posted the trailer to both of those on the event page. Okay. David Carradine is in Death Sport. Oh my God! This thing again. These things came out in the 70s, folks. These are like I think Death Sport was 78. Battle Truck was actually 82. I'm sorry, but Death Sport.
Battle Truck's heavily influenced by Road Warrior.
Oh, absolutely. But Death Sport.
Yeah.
You are condemned to Death Sport. It's the trailer is hilarious, talking about the death machines with lasers and ray guns. It is so bad.
The death machines that are going to be used to take over the post-apocalyptic wasteland. What are the death machines, Jared?
Oh, they're dirt bikes that make awful sounds. They're dirt bikes with like big extra pieces of plastic on them, and they're using all these special effects. That like one of them they use the sound from the TIE Fighter, the sound, the they use the TIE Fighter sound, and they also have this other sound that's this high pitched. if you hear it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's very canned standard sound effect.
Yeah,
like the 70s. It's like hype, like every time it's not just when the motorcycles pass. Every single motorcycle, because they pass by you a lot.
Yeah, apparently all the budget went towards having motorcycles drive by the camera because they do it 800 fucking times,
constantly driving in front of you. And then David, as much as we all like David Carradine, it's like I didn't need to see all these upshots of him in a loincloth. Number one.
Oh okay? Yeah, every chance they get to shoot David Carradine, it's the same cliff.
Yeah.
It's the same cliff that the Gorn fought Kirk, but every time Carradine jumps, it's these upshots looking up his loincloth, so you're seeing his junk fly overhead over and over.
Well, he was the Ranger because it's 1,000 years after the apocalypse in the cities, and there's I'll tell you about the cannibal mutants in just a second. Okay, so David Carradine is one of the Rangers that I guess they roam around and get people around. They have their weapon is a ginormous, oversized,
plexiglass.
Not even plexiglass. It's just like plastic. It's like some kind of not even plexiglass. Well, plexiglass is plastic, isn't it?
Yes.
That is an acrylic polymer. Yes.
It's like giant acrylic sword. It's bigger than him with this giant red. What is that called? The tang? Not the tang. The hilt.
Yeah, the hilt. Yeah, that's right.
Pommel guard.
The what?
Pommel guard.
Yeah, the pommel guard. The piece that goes through. It's gigantic, as big as his head in red, and then the sword is clear, like plexiglass. It's ridiculous, and it makes lightsaber sounds. It's awful. And you know what his ray gun disintegration gun looks like? It looks like they took a paint bucket. It looks like because it has it's like a cylinder with a handle, so it looks like a paint bucket with a white on the bottom and. He disintegrates people when they're in the air. Always when they're in the air, jumping.
Everything gets disintegrated in midair. When a guy's jumping or when a motorcycle's jumping, nothing ever gets disintegrated on
the ground. Always in the air.
You know why? Because
stop it.
Because their feet were on the ground, and all they're doing is just cutting. And that actor gets off, they just cut out the frame,
Yeah.
So if they were on the ground, you'd see dirt kicked up by the motorbike or their feet, and so everybody has to get disintegrated in mid goddamn air. What the? Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's so. Like I said, I think I got this on Amazon, this double feature for less than 10. I think I might have paid $6 for it. So I was like,
well, are you familiar with Death Sport?
I
Okay. And again, Richard Lynch, what could be better than in more 80s really than a giant Ranger duel between Richard Lynch and David Carradine there at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, with their giant
floppy plastic swords. Yeah.
It's and his acting is when he's in this spoiler alert, people, when he's in this cell, he's like, "Let me go! I have no masters." It's so
God,
horrible. Yeah. I can't go on enough how bad this film is. Anyway, so that's Death Sport is bad, and then another Richard Corben film, Battle Truck, again a New Zealand film, total rip-off. Took a lot from the Road Warrior. It's like a new world where there's after the great the ruins of the world and
no. Wait a minute.
The Great Gas Wars.
Battle Truck is definitely we're out of gasoline, but there at the beginning there's those radio broadcasts, and it's like the authorities are all fighting the food riots in the cities, and everybody out in the countryside is on their own.
Oh yeah.
It's everybody remembers how it was before the fuel ran out.
Oh, and let me tell you, Do you know interesting thing I saw on the DVD? Do you know how they recorded that intro from him talking? The guy who did it was in California, and they were like somewhere else, like in wherever they were.
Auckland.
He talked to them over shortwave radio, and they recorded. He was actually on a shortwave radio, you know, like a ham radio, and they recorded what was coming off the ham radio to get that effect. You know what? That's pretty cool.
That's actually cool. I gotta tell you, I don't think Battle Truck is not near. You can't put Battle Truck or Warlords of the 21st Century, which is an alternate title. You can't put that in the same category as Death Sport.
Well, but it's a double feature, sir. So you have to talk about it. But yeah, the battle. Oh, I'm sorry. One more. Going back to Death Sport for 2 seconds is the Cannibal Mutants.
Oh,
so
we almost. How could we forget?
Besides them running around with like leg bones, of course, because they're cannibals. So that's the weapons they're going to use. They're going to be walking around with like leg bones. Do you know how they're mutants besides their raggedy clothes? Do you remember? As a child, at the 5 and Dime store, Scott's cringing because he remembers now. You remember one of these gag things they used to have? They had these. Do you know the fake put over your eyes? And there's a hole in the center.
Yeah.
You remember those? All the Cannibal Mutants were wearing those. So, oh look, they're a mutant. Look at those scary mutant eyes.
They literally went to the 5 and Dime for their mutant eye effect.
Yep, you put it over their eye and you held it in place. You know, by closing your eyes like that, and that was their eyes. Those are the Cannibal Mutants. But
wow.
Yeah, it's bad. So that one's bad.
The things David Carradine will do to keep his bong filled.
Well, and they also called it Death Sport because this came out after Death Race 2000, so they thought, oh, David Carradine, and there's death in the name, that it might get people into the theater. Because, again, remember, folks, 1978, okay? So, and then Battle Truck...
It's no Death Race 2000, you know, let's just go...
Battle Truck, it's, you know, world meets apocalypse, guy meets truck, guy meets, you know, rogue independent guy, and it's just a bad story. But it has two known actors in it. Number one is everybody's favorite mailman from Cheers is in it.
John Ratzenberger?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. He has one of my favorite lines in the movie where he's working on his radio, and he says, somebody asks you, "Been able to pick up anything?" He says, "Well, I tuned in Radio Mecca, mostly prayers." Just like,
yeah, tune into Radio Mecca, mostly prayers.
Mostly prayers. You know, I was just like, yeah, that's what you'd be getting on Radio Mecca after the apocalypse. Thanks, that's helpful, fellas.
Yeah, so it's him and who's the other guy again, Scott?
I was gonna, I totally blanked on
the bad guy. That's
the bad guy. That is 1982 Battle Truck. That is a guy who's been playing heavy since for fucking ever.
It's not James Wainwright, is it? Or
I believe that is correct. It's Michael Beck as the hero, and Colonel Straker is James Wainwright, and he's been a heavy forever. Even you can count on seeing him on the A-Team, on that movie with Robin Williams, The Survivors, with Walter Matthau and Robin Williams. Yeah, James Wainwright has been in 8,000 bad movies over the years. But the big standouts are Michael Beck and John Ratzenberger.
So it's another bad film, folks. Again, it's better than Death Sport. It's on YouTube if you want to.
It has the one redeeming line though that every fucking gamer geek I knew in the 1980s.
Oh yes.
Picked up because of that one line where Colonel Straker, who's the new battle truck wielding warlord, shoots up the village and then turns to his lieutenant and says, "Prepare the men for inventory and acquisition." And he goes, "Yes, sir." Turns around to the next guy down the food chain who's like this greebly little sleazy guy. It's like, and says, "Prepare the men for inventory and acquisition." And the guy goes, "Okay," and they turn around, "Luke!" dudes, and they just run off and kick everyone's door in and take their shit. And so, God knows, I had to hear anytime we were playing Dungeons and Dragons, somebody had to throw that fucking line out about, oh, let's inventory and acquisition the orcs, you know. So yeah, inventory and acquisition. That was
the only redeeming thing from Battle Truck. So we've been hogging it a little bit too much. Wow, Will, I want some more movies from you.
All right, well, I want to bring up one which it's bad, but it's a movie that I find very entertaining because it's so proud of its sheer bizarreness, and that is
Lost.
Ever seen this?
No, go. You froze up, Will. At least for me. Go back.
It's She from 1982.
Oh my God! I've seen it on the shelves in Scarecrow. I've never dared to pick it up.
It is so gleefully bizarre. It is so worth seeing. It's a post-apocalyptic movie that's also a satire of post-apocalyptic movies. That's also just like this weird gonzo comedy. The whole movie takes place 23 years after an event that is simply referred to as the cancellation, and the main character is this warrior woman called She, who is passing her rites of adulthood, which involves going into a cave full of like old animatronic monsters from an amusement park, and she has to fight Frankenstein. Well, Frankenstein's a monster. And then she ends up going on a quest because there's this evil warlord that's been conquering provinces, and she's like, it's prophesized that she will get the team together that's going to stop him, and it's just like nuts, and nothing in the movie is ever explained. Like, there's this whole civilization of people who all talk like Kevin Pollak, who they look like mummies. They're all like bandaged up completely except for their faces, and every now and then like one of their limbs will fall off, but it's never explained why. Just like one of their arms falls off and then they'll pick up a new one. There's this bridge. There's this bridge to get to the warlord's like territory that is guarded by this guy called Xenon, who is this guy with a white afro, white handlebar mustache, Union Civil War, completely accurate Union Civil War cavalry officer's uniform, who every time he's killed splits into two copies. And he like talks like Bugs Bunny, like he just like talks like Bugs Bunny and keeps making these weird one-liners. And I think at one point, like, he's been killed so many times, there's 8 of them, and they all link arms and start doing a chorus line on the bridge.
Wow!
It's fun. It is bad but beautiful. That's the way I got to describe it.
I don't think this is really the kind of film that we're supposed to be talking about, because that sounds like, much like Six String Samurai, it has transcended how awful it is and become something sublime.
I suppose so, but I guess not everyone is ready for She.
All right, I'm just saying, because there are some of the films that I want to sort of focus on are the ones that are just fucking awful, that have just, have not given us anything. That are just that kind of awful. Like, speaking of warriors who things are prophesized about, how about fucking Patrick Swayze in Steel Dawn?
Thank you.
Ooh. All right, doing this. I mean, there's nothing in this film that's even remotely original. It's oh no, we're fighting over water in the future.
Oh, everybody's freaking fighting over water in the future.
Yeah.
That movie, Exterminator 3000, everybody's fighting over fucking water.
Yeah. World Gone Wild, we'll get to that one. It's always about water. The costumes are just, there's nobody's trying in this film. It looks like Patrick Swayze lost a bet to get into this film. And there's, and it's got Anthony Zerbe in it, who's one of my, hey, he's the head mutant in Omega Man, so he's got post-apocalyptic chops, right? If Anthony Zerbe wants to do some more post-apocalyptic, that's great, but he's worthless, and he has nothing to do. He doesn't even need any scenery to chew. I don't remember much about the film, except I was looking at the trailer this weekend, and there's just this moment where, after apparently having killed everybody who's a threat, Patrick Swayze looks at the female love interest lead and says, "Do you feel safe now?" And her response is so bereft of anything like human emotion, or, I mean, she's just like, yes. I mean, there's no somebody behind Swayze's holding up a cue card with one word, just yes, and she's, yes. Oh my God. It's yeah, Steel Dawn. Now, Jared, have you seen Steel Dawn more recently than I have?
No, I haven't seen it, and I don't feel I need to now.
Oh my God.
What's nuts is this came out the same year as Dirty Dancing.
It did. Get out of here. It did not.
It did.
Oh,
87.
shit. Holy shit.
I'm assuming...
So there was a slump between Red Dawn and Dirty Dancing where he got stuck doing Steel Dawn?
No, they came out. I don't know if it sat on a shelf, but they came out. Yeah, they both came out. In a different world, it would be Steel Dawn would be what he'd be remembered for.
Oh God.
Yeah, well, it was probably done during the height of everybody doing Road Warrior ripoffs, and then like, oh, Patrick Swayze is a hot item. Let's get this out finally. That's probably what happened.
Yeah.
So
now speaking of,
let Will drop another one.
all right.
Okay,
So
well,
if pretty good. That was pretty good, sir.
If we're talking about the worst of the worst, do you guys remember Robot Monster?
No.
Okay. If you're going to watch this at all, try to find the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version, because if you see it in any other context...
Wait, is that the gorilla with the diving helmet?
Yes, it's the gorilla with the diving helmet. That's one of the many things it is a post-apocalyptic movie because it all takes place after this nuclear exchange that's wiped out everyone on the world except for a handful of survivors living in the mountains who are then attacked by a robot from space. And yeah, they didn't have the money to build a full robot suit, so they rented a gorilla suit and then like took a prop diving helmet and put some antennas on it.
Yeah,
and that's the robot.
Like a TV set.
Yeah, just TV set aerials, and like the posters show this horrible leering skull in that diving helmet. You never see that in the movie. They don't even bother trying to pull off anything cool like that. His command center is just a cave with the screen hanging on the wall with bubbles. For some reason, bubbles out of a bubble machine are like what simulates whatever environment this robot has to stay in. Oh god, the dialogue's
what is he, fucking SpongeBob?
If that would have been an improvement. And what's awful is there are these scenes where like he uses, because he's supposed to be like experimenting on the survivors and testing them to see if their robots are going to conquer the Earth. Although if these are the only survivors, your job's done. You just have to show up and the Earth is conquered. But there are these scenes where he will talk to like the leader robot, and it's just the exact same costume, but guy in the same costume footage superimposed on that screen. And they have this horrible, stilted dialogue. What do you mean you feel love? You are a Roman, not a human. Only humans feel love. It's oh yeah, because he falls in love with the woman that he ends up kidnapping.
Of course he does.
And it also has the worst twist ending you can imagine.
Let's not spoil that, just in case somebody wants to see that.
In case some masochist wants to see this movie.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That is pretty awful. Mr. Wallace, what do you got for us?
Well, like I mentioned before, I discovered. I mentioned about the water battle because, again, a lot of these films, there's contemporary ones that we've talked. Well, contemporaries we ever get, because people said, as I've mentioned before, why is everything you guys talk about always so old? Because, again, we're old. It's grognards.
We're old.
The stuff we remember is the stuff from the 70s and 80s. Now, a lot of the stuff that we were talking about are 80s movies, 70s movies, and a lot of this stuff, especially the 80s stuff, was with the success of Mad Max, the Road Warrior, Mad Max 2, the Road Warrior. Everybody was trying to rip off the Road Warrior. Everybody was on motorcycles. Everybody was wearing shoulder pads, and they were wearing like desert clothes, like in Steel Dawn. That was in Fighting for Water. It was all this stuff was just all bad. The year 3000. That was another. I think that was another lovely Spanish Italian make film because it was dubbed, and you could see there was just so bad. It was horrible. It's again, they're battling for water. It's the gang. What is there's one? What was that?
Isn't a player stuck in this movie? I'm not
Who?
breaking up. Fred Williamson.
Yeah.
Isn't he in Illinois?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think he plays, the astronaut who's the mechanic. But because everybody's fighting for water, there's Roman gangs in the wasteland. This guy has this car, the Exterminator. There's this gang of bad guys. What do they call him? Shit, I can't remember what they call him now. It's because it was so bad. But he goes around calling everybody mother grabbers. You mother grabbers, get him! And like he's I said I can't remember what his freaking name is, but the main character steals his car, the Exterminator. It's just like this giant American. It might have been like a late model like Lincoln or something. Big giant car. It has like metal louvers on the front. When he starts getting shot out, he closes them to deflect the bullets, and this camera comes up. Out of the hood, that's not going to get shot off, of course. And he has a camera, so he could drive around with the shields up. It's bad. And there's like this one patch of civilization, and they're trying to get water, and they run across where the water is. This group of guys who resemble the guys from Beneath the Planet of the Apes who worship the temple, and they're all like scarred with radiation.
So they're right out of Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Oh yeah, and then like the guy who's the mechanic used to be an astronaut, and there's the kid looking for his dad, and he has a cybernetic arm, and of course he could fix it. It is so bad. It is really.
Fred Williamson's been in some really shit post-apocalyptic movies, including Warrior of the Lost World. And if you ever get a chance to on fucking Mystery Science Theater, do so. It's kind of has to be seen to be believed, and I think he's in 1990 The Bronx Warriors too.
Yeah, so Exterminator of the Year 3000 came out in 1983. Horrible acting. Again, Road Warrior rip-off stuff. Everything's in the desert. Everybody's fighting for water. And then when I was watching that on YouTube, I discovered another film called Straker, 1981. Again, I only got through about 15, 20 minutes of this. Again, everybody's battling for water again. Everybody's riding around in the desert, And there's something that I observed, because it's like a lot of these cars in these movies, they all have like, all these bars and roll cages. You think they do it to make it look cool? No, it's just so they could crash the fucking things and the guys won't die. There's no reason for these things to have full roll cages. But then it's like I'm looking at all these cars. I'm like, okay, you guys didn't even. It's like yellow. It doesn't even match the car. It's like you didn't even try.
Safety yellow.
Yeah, it was like it didn't even match. It was like, okay, at least you could have painted it black to make it like work with the car.
If we learned anything from the A-Team is that if you have a roll cage and you're chasing the A-Team, you're going to use the roll cage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what happens. The guy who doesn't have a roll cage is not going to use his roll cage. It's just that's all.
Oh yeah. So like when I started watching a lot of these films, like the first thing after about 10 minutes, I was kind of like this. It's just amazing how something bad these films are. And like I said, you guys could just scour YouTube, like look up a couple of these names like we gave you, like Battle Truck, Exterminator is the Year 3000, Warrior, and you'll see all these other recommendations of all the. It's like it'll link and jump you to bad film, to bad film, to bad film. You know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another couple of bad ones I came across. And just to briefly bring it up is we talked about transcending bad was we talked about pre-show was Six String Samurai.
Oh yeah.
You know, when we've talked about that movie before. We talked about it on the Music and the Apocalypse show. But again, Six String Samurai, it's bad, low production values, but it's just a classic cult film. Good soundtrack, the Red Elvises.
The guys who made it gave a shit. I mean, that's the difference, is that they gave a shit. And these other films that we're talking about were things that were cranked out as fast as possible in the 80s to try and to hook onto other films, to try and get on these bandwagons. And, Will, do you have anything you want to add to this before I have a couple of films. I have one film I've got to get to, but you said the Z word.
Oh yeah, please.
Oh yes, I did say the Z word, and that is Zardoz, an insane post-apocalyptic version of the Wizard of Oz, starring Sean Connery.
In a red codpiece with thigh-high leather boots.
Yes,
Yeah.
and if you guys saw the hot lava episode of Community, and you saw what Starburns was wearing, that wasn't an exaggeration. That is just what Sean Connery is wearing.
Exactly what he's wearing. What's the chant that the exterminators? What's his tribe called again?
Oh Lord!
It's like they're like exterminators. I am Zed. I am an exterminator. And they have this chant when the giant head comes down from space and throws up all the guns on them. The chant is what? The gun is good, the penis is bad, the gun is good.
Yeah, the gun is good. Yeah, and it's just one bizarre, weird for the sake of weird set piece after another.
Yeah.
Like someone needs to find the Pink Floyd album that syncs up to this movie, because that's probably the best way to see it.
Oh my God. And it was not bad enough. It's got Charlotte Rampling in it. It was just one of these people that I have friends think Charlotte Rampling is the hottest thing ever, and I'm just like, wow, she's like a block of wood. I mean, her emotional range is like mahogany.
I don't think they got direction. I think they were just set up in the locations and told to cut loose.
The only thing more boring in the Apocalypse than Zardoz is Quintet with Paul Newman. That movie, nothing happens for 2 hours. It's a bad movie because it will absolutely bore the shit out of you. I never got anything out of Quintet.
Okay, just so you know, I just posted a picture of Sean Connery's outfit on the
you should. Yes.
the event page. It is there.
It can't be believed. You have to see it to believe that's fucking James Bond. Who again lost a bet. Like
I think he was trying to change his image or something, and it worked.
What? He looks
this is divergent from Bond as you can get.
Yeah, he looks like Rough Trade. He looks is what he looks like. He's apparently trying to get the Bears interested or something.
What did you say he was, Scott?
Rough Trade. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, folks, I'm experimenting with the sound effects this week. Sorry.
I gotta throw this one out. As
Please.
far as terrible movies that are so terrible that you kind of have to wonder, like, how is this thing even allowed to exist? 1986, Solar Babies.
Oh yeah. What is this special, the magical thing called the
Bodhi.
The Bodhi.
Yes.
The Bodhi.
Yes. So in the future, where there's no water,
no water is a theme.
A group of plucky orphan roller skaters defy the authorities by playing a roller skating field hockey game using a glowing orb from another galaxy.
Or it might be God.
It might be God, maybe, but the thing that's sort of most shocking about
no, I don't, Scott. I need to correct you. I don't think that they were using roller skates. I think they were rollerblading because rollerblading had just started to become popular. So,
yes. So you're right.
Oh, yeah.
But let me just take a moment to talk about the fucking cast on this film. All right, it is an abysmally bad film. It is abysmally bad. And the idea that somebody like in a room in a movie studio said, "Hey, you know it's cool, Road Warrior and post-apocalypse and roller skating. We should find a way to get these two tastes together so these wacky kids." I mean, this film could only have been created by a committee, right? There's no way that this is one man's vision of the future because it's just such a kludge, and it's got Richard Jordan in it as the main bad guy, and he's Francis Seven from Logan's Run, right?
Oh.
Richard Jordan. But the other cast members are Jamie Gertz and Jason Patrick, who are going to turn up in The Lost Boys, right? They're going to be in that movie just a couple years later. Fucking Lucas Haas is in it, looking like basically a preemie. I mean, that's what Lucas Haas looks like when he's a kid. James LaGrosse, who was in Phantasm 2, played they took the main character out of Phantasm 2 and they put the actor out and took James LaGrosse and had him play the kid who's from the first movie, and they kept Reggie around.
They kept Reggie because he played a good game.
Yeah, he did. This film's got Peter DeLuise in it. It's got Charles Durning. It's got Sarah Douglas, who was the villain from the second Conan film. She's the evil queen in the second Conan film, Conan the Destroyer. She's one of the three supervillains who fights Superman in Superman 2, along with Terrence Stamp, General Zod. And it's got Adrian Pasdar. Now, who was in things like Heroes and Prophet and what was the other thing he was in? Near Dark. He's the sort of the main protagonist in Near Dark. There's all these people who are in it who are like, going to go on and actually have careers, and it's fucking amazing they made it out of this movie alive. This is the kind of thing that could just, bury a person. You never hear that's the last time we ever heard of Jason Patrick. Poof, we won't be seeing him again after this piece of shit.
Who didn't get work after that movie was the robot Lodak.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this movie had a robot named Lodak that was like this thing that's supposed to analyze the body. Like, that animatronic robot is so complicated, I am shocked that it didn't get rented out to other production companies and show up in other films throughout the 80s, like Robbie the Robot did.
Yes, it would be the modern equivalent of Robbie the Robot. Oh, God.
Yeah.
So do not, under any circumstances, watch even 2 minutes of Solar Babies if you can possibly help it.
You know what I do like, though? That Commandant who has that, that uniform made out of, corrugated plastic.
Oh, yeah, it's like, he looks like, the only person who's got a worse uniform is Raul Julia in Street Fighter.
Oh.
Well, you know what the sad thing about Solar Babies is?
I've seen it 7 times.
Oh, no. What's sad about it for me is that I actually saw it in the theaters.
Oh!
I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Did you leave a puddle of blood?
The commercials were deceptive.
First of all, the title. I almost want to go back and look at a trailer for Solar Babies on YouTube just to rub your nose in it and go, how did this deceive you?
Dude, it was the 80s. Me and my friends, we went to the movies every single weekend, sometimes both nights, and saw anything new that came out.
Because there was nothing on YouTube. We checked.
Yeah, there was no YouTube back then. So
exactly.
Oh, you know what I just noticed? I completely missed this. Solar Babies was made by Mel Brooks' production company.
Get out.
Yeah, Brooks Films.
So we have this and fucking Spaceballs.
Yep.
Man, that's too good for him. I'm sorry, but death is too good for him. Jesus, I know he earned a lot of he earns a lot of slack with Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein, but holy shit,
Wow.
that's not. Then he made Max Brooks, which eternally pisses off Jared. So it's like that's 3 strikes right there.
Please don't mention that name.
The M word. All right. There's so much more crap. I think we're going to have to sort of.
Down the road, we'll have to be. Down the road, we could probably do another episode of this.
Oh yeah.
I want to throw out. I got 3 films to quickly throw out, and then I'm done. What have you guys got?
I got 2 more, then I'll be done. Well,
Bill, what do you got?
Well, there's one I want to just get out right now. Surf Nazis Must Die.
thank you.
Yes.
I was contemplating mentioning that one. Thank you, Will, for doing that.
Yeah, it's a contained apocalypse because they never really say whether it's the whole world is affected, but a massive seismic event turns California into one jagged beach, and neo-Nazi surfers take over the beach, and a black iron rig worker or oil rig worker as one of the first people they kill. So his mother, who I believe is only ever referred to in the film as Leroy's mama, goes on a one-woman revenge spree to take down the surf Nazi
organization. And it's not like she's Pam Grier. It's not like they literally got this kind of dowdy, fat, middle-aged woman, like 50-ish, woman, who then proceeds to shoot and kill and run over with a speedboat a lot of Nazis.
A lot of surf Nazis.
Surf Nazis, yeah.
And, of course, that film was brought to us by our friends at Troma.
Yeah.
Who else?
Yeah, now the Class of Nukem High wasn't post-apocalypse, right? I know I've seen it.
No.
I don't remember it being post-apocalypse. I will throw out things for people to look up. Raiders of the Sun and Land of Doom. Both of these are post-apocalyptic films made in the 80s, made in the Philippines. And so there's this weird thing where apparently in the post-apocalyptic futures, there's just a whole bunch of Tagalog guys running around for whatever reason. And they shot a lot of it in the ruins of the U.S. fortifications in and around Manila, left over from World War II. Those are pretty spectacular in their worthlessness and their cheapness. Those are. What else you got, Mr. Wallace?
Well, not that I've seen it, but I just know it's. Hold on a second. Let me adjust my. Hold on. Trying to.
Are you trying to touch us to the screen?
Well, no. I'm trying to get it to. It like autofocuses, and sometimes it gets completely out of focus. Ah, there you go. Thank you. It. I'm surprised nobody's mentioned the New Barbarians.
Oh yeah. Please, sir.
I think I blocked that out.
Regale us.
Oh, I don't know much about it except for like the trailer and people in leather fetish gear and bows and arrows. That's about all I can tell you about that film. Okay. You see it on the shelf at Scarecrow Video, and you just go right past it. Oh, you completely pass it. My last 2 films I want to mention are 2 ones that are bad films, but they're guilty pleasures. Okay, so without further ado, my last 2 films, guilty pleasures. Again, we have a film here.
Guilty.
With everybody's favorite late 80s, early 90s action star, Van Damme. Can we guess what the film is?
Oh!
Cyborg! Yes.
Wow.
I love me some Cyborg. Okay.
Speaking of things being wrong with people's heads, doesn't the villain in that have something wrong with his fucking head too?
Well,
isn't he like what's his name with the giant catcher's mitt for a face? This has got
Robert Zadar.
And he's got like a chainmail vest on and his glasses. All I know is I love it in the opening sequence of the movie. There's a voiceover and it's him talking because he's the main bad guy. All I knew is I love his line because he's talking about the world and how they try to restore it, and he goes, "Restore it? Why? I like the death. I like the misery. I like this world." Yeah, he really does scream it like that in the beginning. I think briefly that film is about. The bad guys are chasing down these few people, and a couple of them one of them's a cyborg from the CDC in Atlanta, and apparently it was some kind of disease like wiped out people, and they're trying to find a cure, and apparently she has the information, so she has to get back to the CDC in Atlanta, Georgia, and she's up north, and eventually Van Damme comes along because he's I forget what the fuck he's called. They call him. It's like what the hell is it called? Somebody look it up. It's like not Sling Blade. I keep on wanting to say Sling Blade.
Wow.
I keep on wanting to say, but it's not called Sling Blade. French fried potatoes. No, it's not. It's not Sling Blade. It's something else.
I want it to be Sling Blade so bad. Well, his fucking character's name is holy shit, Gibson Rickenbacker.
I love his cyberpunk popcorn.
Holy shit, Gibson. Oh wait, okay. Here's a great name, and there's Furman Vux. Oh, the bad guy is Brick Bardo, played by Rolf Mueller. Rolf Mueller is some German bodybuilder who has turned up now and again. He's just like the size of a... I think the last thing I saw him in was literally Gladiator. He was one of the guys in the film Gladiator. But holy shit. Rickenbacker.
I'm trying to find what the frickin' the name of the...
And this is a film by Albert Puyen,
yep.
who is the man who brought us The Sword and the Sorcerer, which fucking killed a guy. That's a film with a body count. They killed a stuntman on that movie.
He also did
Alien from L.A.
Dollman, Radioactive Dreams,
Captain America.
We should mention Radioactive Dreams,
yes,
because that's another post-apocalyptic film.
Slinger. It's not
Slinger.
Slinger. Van Damme's character is considered a slinger, like a mercenary, and apparently that was the original title of the film, was Slinger. So basically, she hires him to get her down to Georgia, and of course he has some kind of, it's like a gun, but it's like it shoots like bolts like a crossbow. It's kind of weird.
I was so hoping it was going to shoot feet because it was Jean-Claude. It would just.
Oh no! He uses his feet a lot in that. There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of feet. There's a lot of knife fighting and karate action, and there's a big giant battle scene at the end. But yeah, it's not a good film, folks. But I love it. I'm sorry. Yeah, so Cyborg, Van Damme, it's another guilty pleasure, and then there's my other guilty pleasure. Let's see here. Can we guess?
I saw Cyborg coming. I can't imagine.
Is it Omega Doom with Rutger Hauer? Also directed by Albert Pyun?
Oh, I wish it was. No.
Oh, no, it's Blood of Heroes. Speaking of Rutger Hauer.
Nope.
No.
We've talked about this, Scott. It is.
Oh,
DEFCON 4!
Yeah, DEFCON 4 deserves mention as being one of the most unbelievably ruthless and awful post-apocalyptic films ever.
And we're not just talking because it's brutal. It's brutally bad. It's this picture on the front really had nothing to do.
There's no connection between the piece of art and anything.
They saw a cool science fiction poster, and they decided that was going to be good because
there's no city. There's no city. See the city on the cover? There's no city on the original piece of art. They just fucking spray painted that in over the original art.
Well, they think they bought it. They had them like kind of redo it for the film, but.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, it's kind of it looks like it's like a missile platform and a space in an astronaut. Basically, what it is Earth has a nuclear war, and apparently America has a orbiting nuclear platform. And apparently the war happens, and they launch a couple of missiles. They're there for months. They're running out of food. They're running out of power. Their orbit's decaying, so they got to get back to Earth. So they got to basically eject out, with the ejection pod, and of course, they're debating on whether they should have launched the rest of their missiles, like to deploy the rest of them, and they're fighting about it. But then apparently somebody hacks into the satellite system and brings down the ship because somebody wanted the nuclear weapons. They crash on the beach, and there's some kind of local evil warlord that wants the nuclear warheads because what the fuck is he going to do with them? He doesn't have a missile system. He doesn't have anything like that. He just wants them for power. So a lot of craziness ensues with that. They encounter this guy. I can't remember the actor's name, but he basically...
Maury Scheiken.
Thank you. He's a survivalist in a compound in a kilt. So he and he has a bulldozer. It's a bulldozer.
Yeah.
He has a bulldozer, armored bulldozer he drives around. The astronauts are captured by the bad guys. They want them to give them the launch codes, and it just goes bad from there. It's a bad film. But again, I saw this in the theaters when it came out originally in, of course, why do the DVDs never have the year of release on them? That really pisses me off.
I rented it from Mushroom Records right next to the Tulane University campus back in like 1986.
Yeah, it was like a late mid 80s film, and again, 89 minutes of your time. Bad film, but it's good. Another guilty pleasure. Again, that's why I have it on DVD because it goes into the player every once in a while.
All right.
Oh, I saw that. I just noticed this, and I just happen to have this art book. So that cover illustration for the DVD case.
Oh, you have that art book?
Yeah, this in Space Wreck. It appears to be plagiarized from this painting by Angus McKee. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yes.
The same astronaut. Looks like they've just retouched the crashed spaceship in the background to that death satellite.
From what I read on the internet, and of course, if it's on the internet, it's true. That apparently that they liked it, and they think they paid him for the art to redo it or something. Like that's like this is like the redone version for the film, or something like.
Well, if he got paid, then I withdraw my criticism.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, that's what I think happened. That's what I read. Again. It's on the internet, so it must be true, right?
Bill, have you got any more before I throw out my last two picks?
Just two Roger Corman movies. There's The Day the World Ended, which has the three-eyed mutant and the old prospector who keeps calling his donkey Diabolo.
Wow.
The guy playing the prospector, his accent's just so overblown. The other one is the last movie that Roger Corman ever did for AIP called Gas with 4 S's.
Oh my God! Yeah, it is. I've seen it, and it's just nonsense. It's just stream of consciousness on screen.
Yeah, where this nerve gas gets released accidentally that destroys everyone over the age of 25. So it's all like hot rod and young punks.
Yeah. I've seen Gas a million years ago. Isn't what's his name from Harold and Maude in it?
Well, it's got George Armitage, Alex Wilson.
I somehow have this recollection that the guy who played Harold in Harold and Maude was in it, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. Why does this one stand out for you as being particularly atrocious?
Well, it's mainly by reputation. I have never been able to track down a copy. I know about it mainly because this movie. I'm a B movie sort of buff. This is just one of the ones that's escaped my eye. But it's apparently that Roger Corman had such a bad experience with AIP regarding this film. It's why it's the last movie he ever did with them. And in fact, when they released it, they the segment of
Broke up there again. Well, I don't know if it was just me or if it was.
well, I'm just saying that it ended. It's notorious for Roger Corman fans because it ended his relationship with AIP, and apparently part of the reason it ended the relationship is that they wouldn't release his version of the movie. They recut it for release, including removing a whole section, which is like an action sequence that is narrated. And the movie just takes all these kinds of surreal flights of fancy like that.
I have not seen the whole thing. I have seen about 30 minutes of it before I gave up.
Also, another famous Roger Corman.
A
Wow, we're
lot of lag. Apparently,
Some
this
sort of
is
distortion.
going to be a bad episode about bad movies.
yeah. Well, it's getting really choppy. You know what? I don't know, but maybe the audiences are hearing you talk, but we're just not hearing each other when it chops up like that. So.
Okay. Well, let me throw out the last two that I want to throw out, and they're sort of guilty pleasures, and they're also clearly awful. 1981, The $6 Million Man, The Penguin, and that kid from Mazes and Monsters. That's
Tom
right.
Hanks?
No, Christopher Makepeace from what was it called? Meatballs and My Bodyguard, and he's not Tom Hanks in Mazes and Monsters. Chris Makepeace, 1981, The Last Chase.
Oh yes.
Oh.
With-
How can I have forgotten about
With
the last?
Burgess Meredith, Lee Majors, Chris Makepeace. It's the future. There's been some sort of apocalypse. There's a plague apocalypse. Population's gone. Oil's gone. The mean, terrible, mean government that now exists won't let anyone drive race cars. Like that's what Lee Majors did in his previous life. He's a race car driver. And the mean government won't let you drive race cars, but wants you to go to orgies. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie, is showing how bad the future was. Everyone has to take public transport, and you can go to orgies anytime you want. And that's supposed to be really bad for Lee Marvin. Lee Majors. Lee Marvin? If Lee Marvin was in it, it would have been even more amazing. But they do this thing where, he secretly reassembles his Porsche race car and escapes from oppressive East Coast totalitarian America and drives it with Christopher Makepeace, the plucky techno nerd, with him to escape from this Orwellian dystopia across an America that's essentially a post-apocalypse.
Free state.
yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, you broke up there. I said, and he's trying to get out to the free state of California, correct?
Yes, because California has broken away from the totalitarian, and at some point they decide the way to stop Lee Majors in his car is to go get the Penguin and his jet, because he's like the last living fighter pilot, and they scratch together this F-86 Sabre jet, and then proceed to hunt down Lee Majors' Porsche, Formula race car, and try and strafe him or bomb him or whatever. And I gotta admit, the film is as awful as you could possibly want it to be. Just the whole politics of it, like the evil government doesn't want there to be emissions and doesn't want to use gas, and somehow that's a bad thing, that we're being oppressed because there's no fuel left, and so cars are illegal. Somehow that's the evil future.
Is that inspired by the fuel shortage from the 70s?
Yeah, I guess. I can.
Yeah, if it came out in '81, and you know what I'll have to say about that film that always, because again, this came out in '81. I saw it, and when I started getting into the apocalyptic mode, it made me think about after the apocalypse, because when there's EMP and there's no power, how do you get fuel? Because the fuel pumps don't work. He had the tube with the little hand pump that he had in the car to get the fuel out of the gas tanks in the service stations, like this long.
Nice.
Down
And
to
we
the
all
bottom.
thought that was cool, except now we've learned that this film is 20 years later, and the fucking gas in those tanks will have turned in
Yep.
20 years. It'll be. You might as well put mule piss in your Formula One race car. Not that Formula One race cars run on regular gas, anyways. But all right, just never mind that. There's one thing I will say about this film that kind of got me. It was kind of a guilty pleasure. And the one thing, it's like an hour and 45 minutes long. It's too long. It takes way too long for him to finally escape and get out on the road and driving. But this is 1981. There's no such thing as CGI. There's almost no special effects in this film that aren't in-camera effects. So there's this one sequence where this F-86 Sabre jet, which I kind of like old cool airplanes, is trying to, strafe him on the freeway, and is flying over, and they're actually choreographing this. There is a jet shooting by at 400 miles an hour, while at the same time the special effects team has to trigger the squibs for the machine gun, hits, while the car drives through and it blows up this. It shoots this gas station all to pieces as they're driving through all this. And they're actually doing it. I mean, they actually shot that sequence, and I was kind of like, okay, that really looked good. There's a thing in the middle of the film where the jet actually catches up and starts, shooting the car and hunting the car. And some of those sequences really look good. They look a hell of a lot better if it hadn't been a real jet. You know what I mean? Interacting with the stunt guys who are on the ground at the same time. And so I have kind of a guilty pleasure about how good that looks. 30 years later,
because it's a practical effect, so it's gonna hold up.
So I kind of have a soft spot for it in that sense. But I gotta point out, unbelievably, this piece of shit movie actually bred a copycat.
Oh, no.
Called Firebird 2015, where once again gas is illegal and the cops drive around on fuel-efficient motorcycles gunning down motorists with shoot-to-kill orders because, apparently driving your car is the most subversive thing you can do. And Firebird 2015 has a number of awesome things about it that are just
Well, I'm sure all of these movies were inspired by the Rush song "Red Barchetta." So,
first of all, I got to point out that not only is Darren McGavin,
yep,
from Kolchak the Night Stalker is the main character, but fucking Doug McClure.
Oh, Doug
McClure.
McClure.
is in Firebird 2015. And perhaps the greatest part about it, there's a Firebird 2015 theme song that the opening credits has a country western song about the government taking your gas, but you can't stop the Firebird. And it's just the worst. Grown-ups sat down at keyboards and made this terrible piece of music. And
Assume.
Yeah, and we're like, well, do you think that does that rhyme right? Maybe we should change the rhyme to to something else other than like White Wall. Maybe White Wall works better here. It's like this terrible, terrible song, and I do not recommend under any circumstances you see Firebird 2015 unless you want to see Darren McGavin wearing a crash helmet that Marcus driving around on an M1 tank. He's got this giant safety helmet, their lead actor. Just huge safety helmet, because apparently Darren McGavin's went, no, I'm not getting in that fucking car. It looks like it's going to kill me. I demand a helmet. And he looks like one of the guys from Spaceballs. The helmet is so huge.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at the movie poster right now. A boy, a girl, a car. Only the car is forbidden. They fought with a passion for survival, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I've got to see this.
The last one I want to throw out is, again, a terrible guilty pleasure, which you can see on YouTube, is World Gone Wild from 1987. Gee, go figure, once again, the world is out of water. Again. And this film has all the fucking crap you'd expect from a movie ripping off Road Warrior. It's got all that. It's basically the Magnificent Seven, all right? But instead of a middle Mexican village, it's like the last place that has a well in it. It's the only place that has water. So, and instead of Eli Wallach and a gang of Mexican banditos, the bad guy is fucking 80s rock star Adam Ant.
Nice.
And his cult of Charlie Manson worshippers. Because there's this bit at the beginning or midway through the film where you finally see him brainwashing his followers and reading them to them from a book called The Wit and Wisdom of Charles Manson. And he's got this cult of guys in white robes, like, I don't know, they look like altar boys or something in white robes and with machine guns that are mindless zombies serving the will of Adam Ant. And so the head of the village is played by Bruce Dern, of all people, playing this sort of hippie Obi-Wan Kenobi. And his, female assistant is Catherine Mary Stewart from Night of the Comet. Does everyone remember Night of the Comet? Well, the older sister of the brunette, that's Stewart. And they go off to track down a team of mercenaries that'll defend the town from, Adam Ant.
Well, that's a tall job right there. Yeah.
And I got to point out that amongst this team of mercenaries, the first guy they go get is Michael Pare, because of course. But the other guys they pick up are Julius Carey, who you may remember from Briscoe County Jr., playing Lord Bowler, the other bounty hunter from Briscoe County Jr. Alan Autry, who was on. The guy's been in everything. He just plays your standard redneck. He was in. The one thing you might have seen was Southern Comfort. In the movie Southern Comfort, he's the National Guardsman who goes bananas and paints the cross on his chest and sets fire to the supplies and burns up the cabin and eventually hangs himself, the football coach. But he plays a lot of rednecks, and he's playing a redneck in this. And finally, Anthony James is in it, playing a character named 10 Watt. Anthony James is the lead Ravager from the Ravagers, and is Skinny, the bar owner in Unforgiven. Just this incredibly emaciated, thin, guy. And the film is terrible. There's no two ways about it. It's terrible. It's the Magnificent Seven, only water and post-apocalypse and
not magnificent.
No, it's not magnificent in any way, shape, or form. It's the Seven Samurai, essentially, because that's only been done to death. But I strangely, I still have a weird soft spot in my heart for this film. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because when Adam Ant first pulls up to the village, he arrives in a fucking helicopter that's broken. It's just being dragged around by a Bren gun carrier from World War II. It's just this fucking Kiowa helicopter, this big 50s vintage with the prop still on it, just being dragged around the desert like it's his majestic chariot, But it doesn't work.
But when he pulls up, does he say "stand and deliver"?
No, but he does say my favorite line of the film, which is when Alan Autry betrays his other fellow mercenaries and tries to change sides, and goes and reports to Adam Ant and says, "Hey, I want to be on the winning side and fuck over my buddies." Adam Ant does offer one of my favorite post-apocalyptic, sort of bits of, I guess you'd call it, editorial advice, which is, "You seriously fucked up, my friend." And then they proceed to cut his balls off. So, which was just the perfect reward for, turning on his buddies, is to geld him. And so, yeah, it's an awful film. But I actually would say it's worth looking at. It's so bad. It's not Six String Samurai. it's never going to be that bad. It's good, but it's still, for some reason, I enjoyed it. It's terrible as it is.
Well, we don't need to justify our guilty pleasures because, well, my guilty pleasure is different than your guilty pleasure, which is different from Will's guilty pleasure. You know, so we all have whatever.
Mostly we're guilty. Just guilty. Guilty.
But that being said, with this sound,
that should have
Andy Rooney's here.
Yes, Andy Rooney's here. We are.
You know what I hate?
We are well at a time, but that's okay because we had a good time. We had a good time talking to everybody. We had a good time talking about bad movies, and as we've learned today, that there are so many bad movies out there that we can't possibly contain it in one show. We will definitely come back to this topic in the future because I'm sure
whether we like it or not. Whether we like it or not.
We could definitely scrape up some more bad post-apocalyptic movies because there's enough of them out there. But there'll probably be less guilty pleasures this time because we've
exhausted that.
So it's just going to be bad. It's just going to be the bad and the ugly for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and get this show wrapped up here. Let's give everybody for doing such a good job today.
Are you gonna play us out with Piano Cat? Are you gonna have?
No, dude. I only got what they got on the effect menu here. You know, I could do.
Your project for next week is to acquire the sound file for the fucking Death Machines from Death.
Oh yes.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that'll be good. So that was bad movies, folks. So we talked about a lot of them. We had a lot of bad movies to talk about, and we'll probably talk about more. Next show, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. We haven't talked about it yet. I had a... Yes, you're such an angel, Will. I thought...
He's the good.
He is the good.
I think that makes you the bad, and hey, wait a minute.
That makes you the ugly, sir. I was thinking about, because it hit me when I was thinking about what to do next, I was thinking about talking about everybody's favorite post-apocalyptic barbarian.
Thundar
the Barbarian.
Yeah. Ka-ching. Yes, and we should make sure to start. If we're gonna do Thundar, we gotta because you've got the whole set, right?
I gotta do some. Not that I haven't already binged watch, and I didn't in the past, and watched them in the '80s when they're. I'm gonna need to binge watch again to keep it fresh in my mind. You know?
Yeah, and make sure to link to that
Lords of Light documentary.
Yeah, the Lords of Light documentary.
That is marked favorite on the YouTube channel for folks listening. So it's definitely up there. Have to watch that again. So all right, I'm thinking about doing that next week. I think that'll be a good topic for us to talk about because we've mentioned it enough times.
And you know what else? If you want to slightly expand it, we can always hit on those one or two other post-apocalyptic futures where they mix swords and sorcery like Thundar does. I mean, wizards is in there. It's kind of
Raven.
Whoa, what's that?
Oh, Killraven. It was a Marvel comic book from the late 70s, early 80s. The premise was that the Martian invasion from War of the Worlds was just a scout party, and 100 years later, the full Martian invasion fleet shows up and takes over the world. So Earth is this blasted wasteland, and there's just like Martian slave pits where humans and mutants have been enslaved, and the main character is this escaped gladiator called Killraven, who, because he's lived among the Martians, knows their weaknesses.
Is this Kirby?
No, he had nothing to do with it, amazingly enough.
Huh. Because I know there's a comic, a Jack Kirby.
Commanding the Lost Boy?
No, I found a map of it recently. There's like a big map of the future world, and it's all like, Land of the Tiger Men, and
I think that is Kirby. Well, not Kirby.
Killraven?
No, Will. What
Commandy?
is it? Commandy, yeah. The last boy or whatever. I can't remember.
Yeah, okay, but it is Jack. That map in that comic was definitely Kirby. So Killraven ain't that. Okay.
So possibly Thunder the Barbarian. So anyway, all right, folks, we're gonna wrap it up here. We've talked a lot about post-apocalyptic movies, the bad ones. So thank everybody for being here. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Will, for joining us again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with us for yet again for another week of post-apocalyptic movies or post-apocalyptic subject matter. I don't know. I'm tired
of everything. Post-apocalyptic everything.
Everything. I'm tired. I'm not, I'm still not, folks, because last week we had to cancel because I was really not feeling well, and I'm still not feeling great. So it's time to go to bed. It's almost 11 o'clock here on the East Coast. So, all right. So this is Jared Wallace, Apocalypse Nerd. This is Adam Baum Glancy, William T. Thrasher saying thank you and good night.